What if you could look at your business the way you check a weather forecast and actually see what's coming next? Today's guest does exactly that. Welcome back to the Wickedly Branded podcast. I'm your host, Beverly Cornell, and your fairy godmother of brand clarity. And today we are blending intuition, strategy, and a little celestial insight. I am so thrilled to introduce Aleksandra Ceho, founder of Astrology Royale. She is not your typical astrologer, though. She's a former healthcare professional and a lifelong martial artist who now uses astrology to guide leaders and entrepreneurs through business cycles, timing, and resilience. She doesn't read horoscopes. She reads patterns, leadership opportunities, and the energetic seasons of a business. Her work is bold and unconventional and deeply impactful. Today, we're going to explore her journey, her visibility as a professional astrologer, and the magic that happens when you stop hiding your true gifts. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Beverly, I am so excited to be here and chatting with you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. We always start from the beginning, how you came to this path. I know you went from kinesiology and healthcare to astrology. Talk about the spark or the series of sparks that you had when you realized that your work was supposed to shift from the physical healing to energetic and strategic healing.
My journey with astrology actually started when I was a child. I grew up reading my grandfather's astrology books. He was an amateur astrologer, and I fell in love with astrology. I used to go to my grandparents' place, and I would have his astrology books and a dictionary beside for the words that I didn't understand. But my journey started really young, and it was a lifelong passion. I always tell people that astrology was my first love in life, and I wanted to become an astrologer. I even remember making a wish at 16 years old. I was like, when I grow up, I want to be an astrologer. That's what I want to do. And the people in my life who love me felt that might not be the wisest course.
The should case, you shouldn't do that because society says you should do this more traditional side of things, right?
Because you're probably not going to be able to make a living for yourself or that kind of thing. And I also did martial arts. I was really passionate about exercise and movement and health. And so I was able to find something to study that I enjoyed that fit into the category of what the people who loved me felt would be good for me. I went against my own nature in an attempt to appease the people who cared about me and felt that they knew better what was best for me. And so I ended up going to the University of Toronto. I studied physical education and health, became a kinesiologist, and started working in the healthcare field, primarily in clinics that tailored to vehicle accident patients. And when I was there, I started getting this disheartening feeling because my patients, of course, they had physical pain, but that wasn't the biggest chunk of the pain that they were experiencing. Because when you're in a motor vehicle accident, your whole life gets disrupted. Things that you used to be able to do before, you can't do now. For some of them, even something as simple as getting out of a chair to go into a standing position. They could have been in their early 30s and are getting out of a chair like an old man with a stiff back. Disruption to their life, their finances, their family situation, not being able to be the caregivers. A lot of what they were experiencing was really just hurt of the soul, the pain of not living the life that they wanted to live.
We think of the physical scars. We don't always think about the emotional scars or what's happening inside of somebody. The loss of independence, the loss of the actual living of life in a way. It's a loss of the life they had before in some ways, right?
Yeah.
We don't often think about that from that perspective. And you're witnessing this every day, which I'm sure changed you so fundamentally. How did that then inform this decision to change direction?
I was more called to help with the healing of the soul. That my patients weren't complaining to me about their physical pain. They were complaining that the insurance adjuster was a jerk to them, or that they were on an income supplement and they couldn't always buy the food that they wanted, or they were pulling out money from their savings just to make it by from month to month. That pain of the soul was really where I felt drawn to helping them. And it was where they wanted to be helped. The physical pain they knew would subside with time, or they had come to accept that certain parts of it not necessarily change. But it was the pain of the soul and of not living life the way that they had, not having the same quality of life back then. And so frequently, it was a way of trying to lighten them up. I would talk to them about their astrology, find out what their zodiac sign is, just as a way of kind of building that connection and lightening things up. And also really trying to get them to have a sense of the goodness about them. Because when life is hard, it's so easy to lose confidence and dismiss what is good about you.
Yes, because you're thinking about the pain, you're thinking about the next doctor's appointment. All of a sudden, it becomes about appointments and all those things as opposed to living the life that you really want to manifest at some point. It was so deep to me because, Alexandra, I had a major hip injury where I had to have my hip dislocated and some tendons reattached and the bone shaved. And it took a year to recover. I had a year of physical therapy, just water therapy. And before that, for 18 years, I was a dancer and a Zumba instructor. And I went from this very active, very physical lifestyle to a very pained. But your life kind of becomes consumed with the injury, the appointments, the pain meds, the what can I do, what can I not do based on my injury. I have kids, I have young kids. And can we go to Disney World? Because I'm not sure I can walk around Disney World. It started dictating my whole world. You call it the pain of the soul. It's this really deep sadness and grief that is just never really expressed. Thankfully, water therapy works really well for me. You have to find the thing to help you get through whatever that is. Maybe it's a balance of everything, like some physical connection, some emotional connection, some spiritual connection that helps you push through some of this stuff. So I feel this on a very visceral level in many ways.
Yeah, especially coming from an athletic background, it would be so easy to look back to who you were and what you could do and what you were doing. I can do a fragment of that now.
It's like you don't even know yourself anymore. It's extremely disorienting to have that change. Like you said, you're coming from that to this. It really did change my quality of life on a very fundamental level. It certainly made me think, we're supposed to go to Europe. Can I walk on those cobblestone steps for 8 hours and explore? It does really affect that. I remember being in therapy and feeling that my body had betrayed me because it wasn't what it used to be. Like you said, what does it look like now? And what can it still do that I'm grateful for? I had to really lean into that. I'm so grateful I can get up and walk around and being grateful for what I still had, but very much missing the life that I had before. So I can imagine witnessing that over and over again as part of your work and how deeply that would affect you.
Absolutely. And this is part of why I love astrology so much. For many of us, we associate our identity with certain archetypes. And then maybe something comes along and you can't associate with that archetype anymore. I'm sure you can still dance, but not to the degree that you could. And within every one of us, there are multiple archetypes. And so when we draw meaning from one archetype within ourselves, when we can't engage in that spirit anymore, it also leaves room for another aspect of ourselves to show up. There isn't only one magic inside of you. So it clears the way for something else to emerge. I know a lot of women experience this when they become empty nesters. Here you are embracing this divine archetype of mother, the most important job in the world, quite literally. Now your children have left. And of course, they're always going to need you, but not to the same degree that they did before. And in that space, there is the ability for a new archetype to emerge.
This happens in every single milestone in our lives in some way. Like becoming a wife is a different archetype. I'm an army wife. So even that is like a whole different kind of archetype. And I follow my husband wherever he goes. So I lost a little bit of my journey in that because I follow him and support him because the army requires that. Because of that, I started my business. I became an army wife. I also became a business owner. I became a stepmother. All of a sudden, who I was from a single person, very driven, very corporate world, I changed into four different archetypes when I got married based on that. So I feel like every kind of transition in our lives creates this opportunity for a different archetype.
Absolutely. And instead of being attached to what was, you can honor it, have gratitude for it. You can engage in nostalgia. Why not? But also don't be afraid to embrace what else is inside of you. Sometimes you don't know, and that's okay. That's where I always tell people experiment, have fun with it. You don't need to have an immediate answer. You are becoming someone, not that you suddenly just are. You get to form something new, and that's magical in itself.
Yes. We call that the butterflies of expansion. Like it's an opportunity for you to spread your wings in ways and flap your wings in different heights that you never thought were possible. You can expand multiple things at the same time. You still have some nostalgia for something that you were before. It still lives inside of you. It doesn't go away. I love this idea of expansion, this idea of layered of more to you. And it's really can be like a fun exploration transformation adventure if you have the right mindset.
Absolutely. I love that point that you made that it never dies. It's always within you because the magic of a dancer gives you power that applies to everything else that you do in life. Dancers are incredibly well versed in rhythm, which is one of the Hermetic principles that absolutely can apply to your clients that you work with, Beverly, in that you understand their rhythms and their patterns. It gives you the ability to move with people. Dancers are very well versed in that art of synchronization and harmonizing or blending of energies between people. And so that's another talent that you bring to the table. Of course, bringing in the art of beauty. And beauty is important. It really is a reflection of spirit. We find things beautiful when they're in alignment with their energetic nature. These are qualities of that archetype that are going to stay with you no matter if you are physically dancing or not.
My team jokes with me because I think of choreography, right? Everybody has to have their role and their spot and what they're supposed to do. And everyone's relying on everybody else to do the thing so that it looks pretty. It's in concert with each other. Everybody has a role and we all need to know what we're doing so we don't step on each other's toes, mess everybody else up. We want to do the best we can in how we show up as a team. It never really leaves you. It just manifests differently in how it outputs.
I love it.
How do you use this for business? How have you come to this place in the business world? What do clients typically come to you, and what's the transformation that you see happen when you start using this type of energetic medium?
I have people come to me for two primary reasons. And it's actually interesting because it's almost divided like by gender, to be honest with you. I have a lot of female clients who come to me who are entrepreneurs who are trying to do it all.
Do you know any that aren't? Where are they?
Yeah, they're trying to do it all. And one of the things that I always tell people is that the creator is in the creation. So the energy that you approach your business, your family, your health with shows in your result. And we are two women here, but can you honestly say, Beverly, that there are times where you can successfully, completely compartmentalize without even a concern or a thought about other parts of your life?
Oh my gosh. People do that? People actually do that?
People would like to think that they
Yeah.
do, but that's never true.
No.
Staying on top of everything can be really hard because you're not living in a closed system. Your life is dynamic. It's always moving. There are factors in your control and factors outside of your control. The planets continue moving and they continue aspecting your chart, bringing up opportunities for things that you can work on or adjust or make progress or heal, or they bring up lessons. And so when I work, especially with my female clients, they're coming at it from a space of they really want to be able to have more of that central stability and to have the physical, the mental, and the emotional stability to see things through effectively, that they're not being controlled by the chaos, but rather that they can be the orchestrator of their own lives and come back into that place of ownership and being the benevolent force that distributes things as opposed to trying to appease all the demands that are coming their way.
Absolutely 100%. Hundreds of people I've worked with would say the same thing. One of the things that we say we do is we help overwhelmed, overworked, and almost over it female founders. As it relates to branding and marketing, we help them go from the tornado of overwhelm is like you're talking about all the things that we have to do. You cannot get a grasp to give yourself that center. You do have to make a choice to step out of the spin. You have to make a choice for more clarity to ground you so that the chaos can be more controlled in some way. There's some things we can control and cannot control, but you have to make an intentional decision. Clarity is not something that you just find, it's something that you create.
Yeah, because there's times to focus on your health. There's times to focus on your family. And yes, there's times to just put your nose to the grindstone and focus on your business. When you're in that tornado, it is so easy to put effort to things that are not a high priority. As long as something like literally appears in your face, it's I want this out of my face. And then other things that are important are sitting there waiting. This is where I use astrological forecasting to remind my clients what's important right now. This also applies to men as well. Sometimes I actually need to remind them that things other than their career are important. Sometimes they're telling me about some negative health effects that they're having. All they want to know is what are the opportunities that are coming up for my business? Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You're not doing great right now. Remember, The creator's in the creation. How about take care of your health? And of course, this also applies to females too. Whenever I tell people that the creator is in the creation, it's because everything is energy.
Absolutely.
You can't come at something from a low energy or negative energy state and expect brilliance and wonders.
I don't know if I'm alone, but with my listeners, for a long time, I felt like just doing the work was enough. And the more I did the work, the more I said yes to everything and to everyone, the more my magic slipped away. The more it was suppressed by just saying yes and not having boundaries and not listening to what my creator was saying I needed to do to make me. Once I started saying no, and once I started getting more in alignment with what I believe is my magic, my energy completely changed. I cannot say this enough. And I've witnessed it happen with our clients. They come in overwhelmed, totally drained, not sure what to do. We give them their purpose back. We give it back to them based on what they've told us. We echo it back to them in a way they haven't heard it before. They see what's possible for the first time. And then we help them bring it to life for their messaging and their website and their business. And they shift. They have more confidence. They're willing to be more visible.
That's aligning with spirit.
Yeah.
That's aligning with purpose. In astrology, we frequently reference two angles of the chart, which are called the ascendant and the midheaven. And the ascendant is what we are growing into. And the midheaven is the highest that we can accomplish here in our work in this lifetime. Those angles are important. We need to have a sense of direction and purpose. When we are lacking that, that is incredibly destabilizing for people.
And when you let others dictate that purpose, it's not a true purpose. I'm sure you enjoyed the kinesiology to some degree, but it's not that oozing from your pores feeling ever.
No. And I get to live it vicariously. My partner's a chiropractor, so I still enjoy it. It's still a part of my life.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the transformation that happens? They come to you, they're struggling. What are they struggling with when they come to you? They're feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling out of alignment, obviously. And they need to understand what their cycles and seasons are to some degree, I'm assuming. And then what is the process that you obviously read their charts? I'm assuming.
I always start with the natal chart first.
Okay. And then what do you do?
The first thing I do when I read the natal chart is I need to know where they're at, because within your natal chart, it is meant to be expressed all positively and was in only gifts. But we also get this thing that's called a negative ego. And that's the part of yourself that's kind of like a little devil on your shoulder and says, you can't do this, or you should be reactive to this, or that was disrespectful. And I need to know where they're at. Because if, for example, there are aspects of the negative ego that tell them that you won't be loved unless you give, I need to address that.
That's so societal, though, especially for women.
Yep.
Because if we don't give, we have guilt. We call it the should suitcase that women carry. It's a very heavy should suitcase that is filled with societal's expectations. There's so many expectations on women as a woman, but then also as a mother and as a wife. The list is long. So you understand then where they're at in that pattern of what they're carrying, essentially, I think is what you're saying.
Absolutely, because I need to be able to hold them to accountability as I work with them in the forecasting.
I think the hard part about being in that particular phase, Alexandra, and you work with many people, so you tell me if I'm wrong in this, it's almost like you ask the person, what do you want? They don't even know what they want. So it's this conundrum that women have, because we've been told to be all these things. And then, okay, so who are you really? I feel like that work, Alexandra, you're talking about, it's understanding the accountability and understanding where they are. It can be a very deep hole of shoulds that you have to uncover and work through to get to their alignment. I don't think it's ever done. Like, it's a work in progress.
And there's times that you just need a buddy to help you with that.
Yes. Like a body double. You need someone to double with you. Yeah. If you're not fortified by your magic, like the purpose and the passion, it's even more exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
It is. And it's what causes the overwhelm. It causes the burnt out, the dissatisfaction in life, I think maybe a midlife crisis.
There's even astrological events that are tied into the midlife crisis. There's a couple of them actually happen over a period of about 7 years. So people have argued which one is responsible. I think it's just the entirety of them.
You know, I do want to go back really quick to the transformation you offer. You start with the natal chart. You talk about the accountability of where they're at. What happens next?
So then I work with them with forecasting. And so I either meet with my clients quarterly or monthly, and we work through the astrological aspects that they have coming up. And when I know that something might bring up some of their triggers, give them a fair heads up. Think of this as a test or a teaching opportunity. You have the ability to deal with this in a different way.
Break old cycles, maybe.
Yeah. Nobody likes having buttons. It's miserable. It's uncomfortable. Nobody enjoys being manipulated by their buttons. When I work with my clients, of course, we're looking at opportunities for growth and positive steps that you can take, but also it's where are these buttons and what can we do to mitigate how hard those buttons affect you? I can't promise to make them go away, but we can absolutely mitigate the detrimental effect that they have on you. One of the things that I've found is I work with a lot of people who are very introspective and introverted. Why? Unmanaged intuitive abilities. And so they feel the eyes on them and it's uncomfortable and they crawl in their skin.
Oh my gosh. Yes. The other part of that, I will say this too, because I'm an introvert, is I feel them.
Yes.
I'm an empath, so I feel them in my body. A couple things I've really struggled with is putting up a protective shield, right?
Yes.
I walk into a room. That's something I've really worked on because energy vampires are real. Like, there's so many things that I could talk about here.
Oh, yeah.
It's a hard space to be. I never thought about it that way. That's why I didn't like those spaces. Now I totally get it.
And what if you have some brilliance to share?
Girl, I tell this to my clients all the time. You have the medicine that people need. Why are you not going and sharing it? What if somebody in that room needs you?
And so this is where bringing in the proper support is actually going to help them because they don't necessarily have a communication problem. They don't necessarily have a marketing problem. Maybe it's that in those moments where those opportunities have come up, the discomfort of all the energetic sensations that they are receiving stops them. And energetic protect is huge. It is so important. And so this is where when I work with my clients, some of them are local to me. Sometimes I refer them to some of my colleagues in different areas of the world so that they can start to receive that support. What if a little bit of a buffer makes the difference between you hiding behind the curtains, praying they don't call your name, and you being able to stand up there, really deliver in such a way that you're not just talking to their mind, but you're talking to their heart. You're moving people, drawing them in. It's what it's meant to be.
This is so revelatory to me. And the support that I need related to this more protective bubble we're talking about, I have worked really hard. There are some tools that I have used to help with it. And I still go into rooms, Alexandra. I'm not like this over here, but I'm very aware of how hard that is for me. So many of my clients feel the same way. One thing that I think affects that though, and I'm going to go back to branding and marketing, is if you don't know who you are and you walk into a room, you can feel lost.
You don't have something to step back on.
You don't have that like stability. When we work with a client and help them find their message, help them tap into who they are, the alignment of who they are, they stand differently in those rooms.
The foundation of their business.
I definitely feel more confident walking into a room now than I did before, but that needs to be present too. Otherwise, when you walk into a room, you can get lost in the room really easily, very quickly. This is like a moment for me. I don't have to journal about this and think about this. So you help them understand then where it's coming from. It's not just you're an introvert. There's other things layered in here. And here's an opportunity for you to stretch. Here's an opportunity for you to grow, an opportunity for you to learn and maybe do things a little differently. I feel like kinesiology and astrology, kinesiology is very traditional Western medicine, forward-facing. Astrology is not considered like a science and legitimate. It's definitely an Eastern philosophy more than Western. How have you navigated this kind of difference? I always say we walk the line between magic and method. We do magic and method. And while we're playful and whimsical, we always have science to back what we do. I could talk about cognitive dissonance. I could talk about cognitive overload, and that's all part of the overwhelm. How do you kind of navigate this idea of astrology being in spaces not typically open to such philosophies and thoughts? Like, how do you navigate that as a business owner? What has been that process like?
It's interesting because before we started, you asked me about some of the marketing challenges that I've encountered. And so one of the marketing challenges that I've personally encountered is that if you go and look at astrology online or in social media, it has really been turned into something that is not friendly to method, that is really a lot of comedy now, actually. The vast body of information that you find now has turned it into something that it's not. And so it really has turned astrology into glorification of debauchery and lower personality, like caricatures, basically, really stereotyping people in often negative ways. And that's astrology was never meant to serve that way. For the longest time, astrology was literally used for kings and queens, and it was used to help them navigate factors within their control. So astrologers would look at aspects of weather and how that would potentially impact crops, how it would impact trade, making strategic alliances. All of these kinds of things were the kinds of guidance that astrologers normally gave. And so when I converse with people who do come from that more methodological kind of aspect of life, or more structured in nature, one, I frequently go into the history of astrology. And when you bring up history, they're usually all on board. That's one thing. And then the second thing is that I like to find out what their philosophy is about life, because you may not necessarily have spiritual beliefs, or at least defined spiritual beliefs, but everybody has a philosophy. And often philosophies tie back into some aspect of what is called Hermetic wisdom. And so Hermetic wisdom comes from one of the very first philosophers, Hermes Trismegistus. And Hermetic studies talk about the energies that underlie reality. And so when I connect with people and I discover what their philosophy is, and then I tie that back into the world of energy, then they're a lot more open to hearing those kinds of things.
Interesting. I do feel like you have to prove yourself more than the average. If you're a chiropractor, even chiropractic, some people think that is alternative medicine, right? So that's not necessarily traditional medicine. One of my clients is a doctor of naturopathy, so natural healing from the inside out versus diet, nutrition, very much adjacent to a chiropractor in many ways. She does it for animals. She does it for cats and dogs and horses, and it's a little bit more of a unique perspective. And she said, fight that. I'm not a vet, but I certainly understand how the dog and cat's bodies work. And there is this legitimacy that we have to use in her marketing to help people understand the power of this particular type of medicine. Medicine doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a pharmaceutical. It can be an herb, it can be a supplement, it could be energy, it could be red light, all kinds of things. The medicine could be different in that way. I could see how the challenge is for you to have to balance that as well. Honor who they are, but also insert where they sit in that astrology world. There's a lot of introspective work, challenges to the intuition you're talking about, and some of that stuff, like that is all part of it. But I think you can choose to do that work or not. And so for us, the marketing helps with some of that. But what Alexandra does is more holistically, right? She's talking about your whole business. And I know when we help our clients become more confident in their business and their passion and their purpose, specifically women, it filters into the rest of other parts of their lives. Right? They're happier at home. They're happier as mothers. They're more able to contribute to their community and society. Like the ripple effects are real. And the same thing goes for this work, I'm imagining. Like when you can understand where you're from, the next time you do it, maybe you do feel healthier. Maybe there's a lot of things that could happen from that. And the ripple effects of that into your life can be monumental.
Yeah, absolutely. You can work with a season or you can work against it. If you plant seeds in January and you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you can't stand there watering them and getting upset. Why aren't you growing?
Yes. But you have to have hope and you have to wait for the season to arrive. And there is some patience that is involved in some of this too.
They need to be nurtured.
Water, they need the sun, water, all the things that they need. And our version of sun and water is some of the stuff that you talk about, honoring where you're at.
Yeah.
Understanding that it's okay to be where you are. We meet every client where they are because everyone's on a journey, and where they are is exactly where they need to be. One thing I say all the time is you are a masterpiece and also a work in progress at the same exact time.
I love it.
You can be perfectly made right now, but also be something that's working on being better. So we meet you exactly where you are at the masterpiece level you are and where you want to go with that. There's a lot of power in there that when you think about it that way, it's not that I'm faulty. because I don't understand this, or I'm faulty because I have never done this work. Maybe you were unaware, maybe you didn't have the right tools.
How boring would life be if you knew everything, could do everything perfectly?
Oh my gosh.
What would be the point of being here?
Exactly. Yeah, the journey is the thing. I would agree with you completely. Okay, so if I could wave my magic wand right now and fix something that's going on in your business, Alexandra, related to branding and marketing, what is something that you are having a hard time understanding or working with right now? What's frustrating you?
Changing the mindset around the role of astrology in the world.
I think really it is about wherever you can find the bits of science, actual results, quote unquote results, and sharing those. I love the idea that historically astrology was used to guide royalty leaders, world decision makers, what decisions were made based on astrology that were successful.
Yeah.
Sharing more of those stories, like literally stories. Talking about them would be great. Talks that you do. I would almost even start your talk with a story like that. Did you know that in Egypt, King so and so had an astrologer who told him that the harvest was going to be challenging because of whatever. So he did this thing and the people were able to eat for this year. I would start with a story that is very real and then go into your ground astrology in that way before you actually go into your personal journey. I feel like that would make people already, like you said, you find that connection quicker. Even the philosophy side of it, what is your philosophy? If somehow you can ask or figure out what the person you're talking to sooner than later, start there. But maybe you even have, if there's 4 basic philosophies, I'm not sure how you consider a philosophy. So if there's 4 basic philosophies, tie that to things and talk about them in your social media, in your blog posts, in your newsletters. Do that more. And so I would always start it with that and then give your piece of advice or your story underneath that. Like ground it and then share the perspective you have so that it feels more credible.
Grounded.
It's just grounded in the science or more of a study that makes people give it a second thought for sure.
Amazing.
I think it will help you for sure. We do a lot with our naturopathic case studies, talking about real transformations that people you've worked with have had.
Yeah.
That, and you not talking about it also grounds you. So more of social proof that you can use, the better.
Amazing. I will definitely engage that.
I don't know if you do your sessions on Zoom, but something that I also suggest to people is if you do a session on Zoom, directly after you give your session or your service or whatever it is, ask them for feedback. What changed for you today? What was it like before versus now? How do you feel? And then use that little snippet. And then after they tell you that, say, hey, can I use that as a testimonial on my website? Don't tell them you're doing a testimonial beforehand because they'll get all weird. They'll get all weird. I promise you. You'll not tell them beforehand. You say, how does this feel? Like before, how did you feel? How do you feel now with this information? Or if you have multiple sessions, like, hey, I know last session we did this thing. Like, where are you at? Do you feel you're able to handle that better? Whatever. Get that snippet and use that everywhere. It should be on your website.
I love that idea.
Your services. It should be in your social media. On every newsletter, there should be one little, I love video, but you can also take it up a notches, use the video, but then transcribe the video, tweak it a little bit for your SEO and some of your key things. Send it to them with a link to your Google review and say, hey, I took our conversation, writ it down. Would you mind? You can tweak this or just share it like this to the Google review link below. But it really would help me be found by more people to have more of these kinds of experiences with other people. 9 out of 10 will do it and literally not even change a word. You can take that information and use it 2 different ways. Now you have it written and you have a visual. So whatever medium you need, you have options going forward. Plus it helps your Google search when you add to Google reviews.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Beverly. That's awesome.
Great questions. Those are such good questions. How can listeners support you? How can they find you? What about your website? And I hear you have a little bit of a free magical resource maybe you're going to share to that.
Listeners can find me at astrologerroyale.com. And there I have a free ebook for you. It is called Star Powered Resilience. And it is an astrological guide to burnout, stressors, and also contains many rituals and resources to support you so that you can understand your gifts and overcome burnout. Now, my little pro tip is if you happen to know other placements in your chart aside from your zodiac sign, to check out your Mercury sign and your Mars sign as well for extra nuanced information and extra support.
Okay. Where can we check that stuff out? Like, where can we go for that?
That is all on astrologerroyale.com.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. I love it so much. And what is your handles? What are your handles on social?
On social, it's at astrologer.royale.
Perfect. Oh my gosh, this has been so fun and very insightful for me. I was a little selfish today. I feel like I really got something out of it in a way, especially around going to networking spaces. So thank you for the epiphany today. I appreciate that. And if you found Alexandra's journey inspiring and maybe helped you think a little bit outside of the box, because astrology is certainly a little bit outside of the Western box, I hope that it helped you maybe light a little bit of a fire and gave you some new ideas, and most of all, inspired you to take some small step in your business. Because what I know for sure is that your message matters, your work matters, and the world needs to hear more of what you have to say. Thank you so much, Alexandra, for being with us. I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, it was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Beverly.
So marketing isn't just about visibility. It's about impact that you make in the world, impact on people in their cycles and seasons and helping them grow. It's about connecting with the right people in a way that feels true to you, not the icky, sales, spammy, swarmy stuff that we talked about. But please keep showing up, keep sharing your brilliance, and keep making magic in the world. And hey, if you ever feel stuck, know that you don't have to do this alone. Alexandra can help you. We're also here to help you turn that spark that you have, your passion, your purpose, your alignment into a wildfire. And until next time, I dare you to be wickedly branded. Wow, what an incredible conversation we just had. I hope that this episode lit a little bit of a fire under you to finally bring your brand to life in a way that feels true to you. Remember, clarity is the spark, but activation is that fire and flame that keeps your message and your visuals and your strategy aligned. And the confidence that follows, so does that lovely thing called momentum that you've been waiting for. So if today's episode, if you loved it, make sure you are subscribed to the Wickedly Branded Marketing Podcast so you never miss an insight or a conversation. Until next time, dare to be wickedly branded.